not yoga, from Pilates. Yeah, a long time.
I just have sweaty.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay.
Yeah. Oh, the toe part might help. Oh, I have something like that. Just like that kind of like that. I have one that kind of has a strappish thing.
Yeah. See, I thought that would be
A
good.
little more.
Yeah.
A little more air. And I think they're not, of course, it's good because it keeps your ankles warm. Mine are.
Yeah, I don't think they do. I think they're
My feet get immediately get warm as soon as we start doing this.
So you don't worry about, they don't get hot, they don't get cold. You know, so that's
Here we are. It's Monday. And it's not Christmas week yet. So, start to sit comfortably. So, let yourself get easy. If you need to stretch your legs out, do. Just be comfortable. If you're sitting in your chair, make sure you have your feet hips distance apart and parallel. But be mindful, if you're on the floor and you want to sit up on blankets, it helps your hips feel better. By all means do. Let yourself sit comfortably. And then just close your eyes and let yourself start to easily feel your breath coming in and going out through your nose. So not forcing the breath. Just let the breath come in and go out. And feel like, just imagine, even if you're not, that you're breathing equally in and out through both sides of your nose. I know there are a lot of allergies right now, kind of a lot of stuffiness, but if you can imagine that you are breathing in and out through both sides of your nose. And also, see if you can just be aware a little bit of the coolness of the air as you breathe in and the warmth of the air when you breathe out. Start to move a little bit with your breath. So letting your exhalations bring you forward, trying to keep your back nice and long, and your inhalations bringing you back up. So don't force it. Just enjoy allowing the breath to bring you forward and back. It might be you're moving an inch. It might be that you want to move a lot farther, keeping your back long because it feels good in your back and your hips. But just thinking of connecting your movement with your breath. Good, and the next time that you come back up, let yourself stay there. And we'll release our arms out beside us here now. So if you're on the floor, you can lightly touch the ground with your fingertips there. Feel nice and open across your chest. And on your next inhale, float your arms out and up overhead. And on your exhale, let your hands come right down together in front of your chest, in front of your own heart. And then we'll reverse and inhale the hands right up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms on back out and down. And take a nice inhale here. And on your exhale, gently twist to your right. I'm going to mirror you. Let yourself come on around and be easy about feeling your sitting bones still drawing down. Feel that twist in the middle of your back. Good. One more breath. And on your exhale, come on back around through center and go all the way into the other direction. So you're just unwinding here, waking up the spine. You can be aware of feeling your feet in the floor, whatever part of your feet are touching the ground. One more inhale. And on your exhale, move on back into center again. And let's inhale our arms forward and just forward of our shoulders. And then rotate so that your palms face away from each other. So your thumbs face down and your pinkies face up. And then bring one hand on top of the other. It doesn't matter which one. And you're just going to clasp your hands and soften your shoulders down. And start to lower your hands down. And you can keep looking at your hands here. Now you can just stay right there with the hands lowered, just letting your neck release there, looking down a little bit. Or you can send your hands up and through that hole you've created. And if you want, you can rest your forehead right there on your hands. So you're resting right there between your eyebrows with your head just softly coming into your hands. Or not. Don't force that either. You don't even have to bring the hands up at all. One more breath. And then send your hands on back down and all the way back forward of your chest again, letting yourself still stay soft in your shoulders. And now, disconnect your hands, and all we're going to do is bring the other one on top. And again, clasp your hands together, but soften your shoulders down. And then release again, hands on down, and totally up to you whether you want to bring the hands up and through that hole you've created or not. You can just stay with your head tilted forward and let yourself look down at your hands. You can put your forehead on your hands if they're there. Feel your fingers. Let yourself feel your hands kind of waking up here too. Let your neck release. And then if you have your hands up, go ahead and send them back down and through again. And we're going to still bring the hands forward to the chest again. And now if you can kind of press your palms a little more firmly together and soften your shoulders even more too. And then let's release our arms and let yourself bring your hands out into a T position so that you face your palms downward. You're reaching out through your fingertips. And then from there, bring the right arm up and the left arm down, and we're going to come over into side stretch. So your fingers can give you a little support there on the floor. If you're in your chair, you can let your arm hang, or you can put your hand in your lap if you want to. Just let yourself breathe into that right side you're stretching. And we're going to come on back up, and we're going to switch arms. So lowering that right arm down and bringing the left arm up. And then again, coming on over into that side stretch. Whatever you like to do as far as what you want to do with your right arm when you're in your chair. And just breathe into that left side. One more breath. And then we'll rise on back up. We're going to lower our arms on down beside us. And let's stretch our, now remember which leg you have in front if you're cross-legged. Stretch your legs on out in front of you, and then start to circle your feet around. So you can do opposite directions with the feet going, or you can do the same, whichever feels best to you, really. And we're going to reverse, switch, and go the other way with those circles. You can do that a few times. Just kind of play a little bit, let your feet move around, let yourself find your ankles. And then come on back to center, flex your feet, and see if you can kind of curl your toes down. So like you're curling your toes just like you could your fingers, right? And then stretch the toes out a little bit and try to imagine that you're spreading them out like if you're spreading out your hands, but you're trying to spread out your toes. And then again, kind of scrunch them down a little bit, scrunch the toes down. And then again, think about separating your toes as best you can. Easier said than done, really. And then go ahead and let yourself release. We're going to come back to cross-legged on the other leg in front if you're cross-legged on the floor. And then, if you're in your chair, you might want to come a little bit away from the back of the chair. This time, let's start to just circle our navel a little bit, right? So instead of coming forward and back, now we're going to let our breath help us make these little circles with the navel. So inhaling when it comes forward, and exhaling when you draw it to the side and towards your spine. And inhale when you come forward again on the other side. So you're circling in the same direction. Now these can be really tiny, deep circles. Yeah? But it's an isolation, right? If you get bigger with the circles, your shoulders might move around too, right? But you're not trying to move your shoulders around. It's really very focused right here on the core of the body. And you got to use like your side abdominal muscles You're really using your abdominals here and your back too. We're gonna switch directions, so stop where you are and start to let the circles go the other way. Really just trying to isolate there, moving through the belly and the low back and the hips. Good. And then finish off wherever you feel comfortable to do that, and sit up nice and tall again, and bring your arms on out beside you again. And this time, let's inhale the hands straight out into that T position, and then flex our hands and bring our hands in towards our shoulders. And then when we exhale, we're going to press out into the heels of the hands and press down into your feet at the same time. So inhale, bringing the hands in towards your shoulders. And as you exhale, press out, press down into your feet too. So there's your core strength right there. And then one more time, inhaling, bringing the hands in. And on the exhale, pressing out into the heels of your hands. And then let your hands rotate, palms so that they face upward, and come up into a wide V with your arms. So you're really staying soft in your shoulders. None of the lifting of the shoulders going on. It feels like your arms are growing out of your back, really. You can look up a little bit if you choose to. That's totally optional. Whether you want to do that is up to you. And then we're going to lower those arms on down. Bring your hands behind you and clasp your hands back there. If you're in your chair, you might want to separate your feet because we're going to come a little bit forward. So if you're on the floor and you don't want to stay cross-legged, you'd rather stretch your legs out, do it. But think of coming forward from your low back, letting yourself almost imagine you're leading with your chest, right? Your sternum is almost leading you forward. And then just release there. If you can let your head release, do. If you like keeping your head in line with your spine, do. You know, anybody who wants to fold further forward, by all means do. You're more than welcome to. Feel that openness across the chest. Feel really wide across your chest. One more breath. And then we're going to rise and come all the way on back upright. Bring our arms out beside us. And we'll inhale the arms all the way out and up overhead. And let our exhale bring our hands right down together to be in front of our hearts. And just take a couple of breaths there. Feel that length upward through the top of the head. Already getting all the parts of the body going here. And we'll go ahead and release our arms on down. And we're going to come around towards our hands and our knees. If you do not want to be on your hands and knees, don't be, right? Use your chair if you'd like to give you support so that you can have your hands down in the seat of your chair. If your wrists bother you, feel free to come up onto your fists. The other thing you can do if your wrists bother you is to go down onto your forearms so you're totally out of your hands, right? You want to be able to move through your spine without having discomfort, right, in your hands or your wrists. So just take your time. Let yourself start to move through your spine with that tailbone initiating, right? So next time you exhale, pull the tailbone up under you. Draw your navel towards your spine like we did when we were sitting, but now round up into your back like you're a little kitten playing, or an angry cat, that arches their back up. And then when you inhale, send your tailbone back and up and move your way back through into your cow pose. How deeply you go into this is up to you. You can go to more neutral spine instead. And then just start to play with moving through your spine like this. And let it feel very easy. Just enjoy the suppleness of your spine. And the muscles alongside of the spine are getting a nice warm up by just moving here through the back. And if your breathing totally becomes the opposite, that's fine. Just keep breathing. And then we'll finish off the one that we're on here. We're going to come on back into more neutral spine. And we're going to step our left foot forward and our right foot back and come into a lunge. Now, how far back you step that foot, it's up to you. It can be 2 feet, 3 feet, more. Remember, you want to let your feet be apart like you're on very narrow railroad tracks as you start coming into the back of that right leg. And your hands can be up whatever height you want to be. Any height on the blocks or on your chair. It's the same thing with your wrists. If they bother you, you can come to fingertips, you can go to fists. You know, if you're on a chair, you can hold the outside edges of the seat of the chair, which takes it out of your wrist too. Good. We're going to switch legs. So however you decide you want to do that, bringing that left foot back now and the right foot forward. And remember, narrow railroad tracks. And then bending that front knee no farther forward than your ankle. And just enjoy now. Start to feel the whole body waking up in your lunge. Think of the length of your spine. Think of your low belly working a little bit there. And of course, opening up the back of that left leg. We're going to switch legs again. And sometimes, when you go again, sometimes you just feel like you want to get a little more into your legs. If you imagine you're trying to lengthen your mat with your feet, you press your feet away from each other. Maybe even bringing your left hand or forearm up to your thigh if you'd like, so that you have even more dependence there on the legs and the hips, you can. Good. We're going to switch again. So again, as you bring the left foot back and you are, being mindful of having that little bit of space like you're on those narrow railroad tracks, pressing the feet away from each other just a little bit. You don't have to be harsh about it. Just like you're trying to make your mat a little longer, feel the belly engage, and you might want to bring your right hand or forearm up to your thigh. Good. Lengthen out through the whole back body. One more breath. And then we're going to step forward and come on into our standing forward bend. Feet hips distance apart and parallel. And if you have your chair there, you can go lower. You can grab blocks if you want and put your blocks on the seat of your chair so you're up even higher, but you're out of your hands. So everybody needs to be mindful in forward bends. Knees can be bent. Let yourself just be really easy. If it helps you to let one knee bend a little deeper than the other at a time and kind of walk through your standing forward bend a little bit, you can do that. You can just bend one knee and then the other. Let yourself just shift a little from side to side. Good. And then when you come back into center now, both knees equally bent, or you can have your legs straight. Just make sure you're not locking your knees out, right? And now feel the weight of your head. Let yourself start to really let go through your face. So imagine relaxing all the muscles of the face. Releasing all around your eyes, all around your mouth. And just enjoy really feeling that weight of your head, which creates more space in your spine. Watching your breaths in and out. Good, and then from here, we're going to let our hands come on up to our hips, press into our feet equally, and rise on up to standing. And inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down to be in front of our chests, in front of our hearts. So finding your mountain pose, if you kind of need to walk a little bit in place, do. If you feel like you want to look at your feet and make sure, you've got the feet pretty parallel, hips distance apart, lining up the hip pointer bones towards the center of your feet. And then letting your hands come together and bringing your gaze on out. Now, I love to close my eyes in mountain pose, but if you get it all dizzy, you'd be better off to keep your eyes open. But see if you can just imagine you're looking straight on out towards the horizon if you were standing out in an empty, open field. So you feel very much at ease with where your head is. Your chin is not reaching forward, and it's also not tucking back. And your pelvis is aligned because your tailbone's dropping down towards between your heels. And you're kind of stacked up, hips over ankles, shoulders over hips. Feet equal in the floor. And then we'll unfold our arms right on down beside us and inhale the arms all the way out and up overhead. And as we exhale, bend our knees. Come on forward with that flat, long back if you can. Bring your hands to wherever you like for your standing forward bend. And on your next inhale, find a nice long back. So if your hands are in the chair, it's pretty easy to flatten your back. Or maybe you want to use your legs or your blocks for your hands to really press in a little bit. And we're going to step the right foot back and come into lunge here. Drawing our shoulders down away from our ears now. Really, again, finding that length in the back body. Good. And we'll come into a downward facing dog pose of choice. Whether your hands are on a chair seat or down onto blocks or the floor, you're reaching back through your tailbone, through your sitting bones, and feeling as equal as you can between the sides of your body. Let your elbows just hug in gently towards each other so you feel that engagement in your shoulders. And if you like to walk your dog, you can do that same bending of one knee that we did in our standing forward bend. Bend one knee at a time like you're walking. Try not to make it a run. Try to let it be a walk so you really appreciate the length through the back of each leg. And then come on back to your full dog and let your next inhale bring you towards your plank. Now you don't have to go into a full push-up pose. You can if you want. You can kind of step your feet to the place where you feel best. If you're on the floor and you want to come down to your forearms, by all means do. Or put your knees down and do a half plank. Let yourself breathe there. If you like push-ups, you can do little elbow bends into push-ups a little bit there. We're going to come on back to down dog from there. Reaching back through both sitting bones, elbows hugging in. And this time we'll bring the right foot forward to come into lunge. So however you need to get into that lunge. You can put a knee or a knees down, or you can come up and then back into your lunge. And then we'll step forward and come into standing forward bend. So remember, feet hips distance apart and parallel. Be mindful of your back when you're in your forward bend. You do not want to do something that feels uncomfortable. You can always put your elbows above your knees to support you if you want. I know some of you like to just go ahead and hang. Maybe even put your hands on your elbows. But be very mindful and watch your breath. And see if you can. When you inhale, just think something really simple. Think the word in when you breathe in and the word out when you breathe out. Keeping your focus on in and out. And then we'll bring our hands back on up to our hips. Bend our knees, press into our feet, and come on up to standing and inhale our arms out and up overhead. And on our exhale, as our hands come down, think about reaching up higher through the top of your head. Good. We're going to reverse the arms. Keep the hands together. Inhale them up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms like wings as you fold forward from your hips into your standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find that flat back. Again, hands can be wherever you like. And this time we'll step the left foot back to come into that lunge. And think of drawing your shoulders down away from your ears and think about the length in your back body here. Good. One more inhale. And we'll exhale into that downward facing dog pose again. So coming into down dog. And you know, whether your hands are on the floor or the blocks or the chair, it's all about the length of your spine. And if you have to bend your knees in dog, bend your knees. Let yourself enjoy finding that length through both sides of the body as well as through your spine. Good. And the next inhale will bring us out towards a plank. And you know, totally optional. You can go to forearms, get out of your hands. You can put your knees down. You can do little push-ups if you want, elbows in towards the ribs. Letting yourself, if you want to come a little more into your arms, into your shoulders, you can. And then we're going to come on back again into down dog. Reaching back equally through the sitting bones. Good. Let's bring our left foot forward this time to come into lunge. Take your time, draw your shoulders away from your ears. Think of the back of your head coming into line with your spine when you're in your lunge. And then we'll come on back forward again into standing forward bend. And again, nice full breaths. Go right to watching your breath all the way in and all the way out. Feel free to let yourself release, hands to your elbows if you want, or use support. Full, deep, easy breaths. And then we'll bend our knees, bring our hands to our hips, and come on up to standing. And inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. And let's unfold our arms behind us here now. Clasp your hands. Let your hands just release down. So your arms are fairly long. You still have a little bend. You're not trying to lock your elbows, but you're just letting yourself feel your shoulders release down away from your ears. And you can really tell if you're aligned here. If you're tucking your tailbone up under you, this is what it looks like in your back, right? But if you think about the tailbone reaching down towards between your heels and you feel your belly engaging, you can get all those natural curves back into your spine. Good. From here, slide your hands over to the right. See if you can fold your left forearm onto your low back. And then maybe squeeze your palms towards each other. So that right palm is squeezing into your left. You can really feel your hands, feel your biceps, all the way up into your shoulders. And then come on back through center with the hands and go to the other side. So if you can fold the arm, do. If that's too much, don't do it. And even if this squeezing of the palms together is too much, don't do it. Let yourself release there. One more breath. And then we'll bring our hands on back down into center. And now see if you can inhale your hands a little bit off your back. And when you exhale, let them come back down. That doesn't have to be far. So inhaling the hands away a little bit. If you want to go farther, you can. And then bringing them back down. Now leave your hands there. One more inhale. And as you exhale, come on forward. Now you may want to stay up quite high. You know, bend your knees. Have your hands stay on your back. Find a long spine there and stay. Or you might want to keep going forward and farther over your legs. Maybe even bringing your arms off your back, right? So this forward bend, not for everybody, and certainly the arm part isn't either. So be really mindful of your own shoulders. One more breath. And then we'll release and let our arms come on down. Let your next inhale help you find a nice flat, long back, like you're a tabletop if you can. And we're going to bring ourselves back into down dog from here. Place your hands, the surface you like to use, whether it's the floor, the blocks, or the chair. Walk your way back. Lengthen out through the spine here. Good. And on your next inhale, come on out to that plank again. Now, it is totally optional to do any kind of back bend here. You can stay in plank. You can go back to dog if you want. If you want to come down to the floor and do a Sphinx or a Cobra, you can, or you can come through with your chest and come into an up dog. And then we'll come on back again into downward facing dog pose. So take your time. Walk a little bit if you want in your dog, or let your head just gently turn side to side if that feels good in your neck. Good, and then we'll come on back to full dog. We're going to do that one more time. Come on out to the plank. And again, this is optional. If you like to do a back bend, you can always go to the floor, come onto your forearms, do a Sphinx, or you can just stay in plank, or you can come through to an up dog. And then we'll make our way back again into downward facing dog pose. Take another breath in your dog. Really feel good about your elbows hugging in a little bit so your shoulders feel good. You kind of feel hollowed out in your armpits, really. And let's bring our right foot forward to come into lunge from here. Draw your shoulders down. Let yourself just feel really energized in the pose here. And then we'll come on forward into standing forward bend. Feet hip distance apart and parallel. Let your knees soften a little bit. Let your head kind of nod and shake a bit if you can, so you can appreciate the weight of your head. Nice full breaths. Focusing on the breaths all the way in, all the way out. And then we'll let our hands drift on back up to our hips, bend our knees, press into our feet, and come on up to standing. And let's inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. From here, unfold your arms for a second and start to let your arms hang for a second. And feel like you have balloons in your armpits, not blown up. All right? So that when they start to blow up, it just means that there's just like this breath in the armpit level. And then just think about them getting bigger, and they're going to hold your arms up. You're going to float the arms up and up and up till they're straight out from your shoulders. And it feels easy. Now, it doesn't take long for arms to feel heavy, but if you can, kind of feel that floating sensation. And now bring your right arm on top of your left and give yourself a hug. Let yourself, now you may decide to go low down towards your armpits. That might feel better in your shoulders. You might want to come over the tops of the shoulders. But once you're there, let your head start to tilt a little bit one way and then the other. Real easily. So it feels really good. Good. And then release to come on back into center. Now you can stay hugging. I know a lot of you like to release and head the backs of your hands towards each other, towards eagle wrap, right? You can do your full wrap if you want. Left hand into the right palm there. Totally up to you. Now see if you can sit down like you're sitting in a little chair pose. Not very deeply, but you send your hips back and your body comes a little forward and you're going to feel your thighs. And if you really want to feel more, go a little bit lower. Let yourself send the hips back a little further, the body a little more forward. One more breath there. And then press into your feet, rise on back up, unfold your arms and let them float back out beside you again. Try to let go of the tops of the shoulders. Imagine it's underneath your arms that they're being held up from, right? And then we'll bring the left arm on top of the right. Come into that hug. Let your shoulders again release down. You decide here as you start to let your head move around a little bit. And if you find a tight place, usually it's right back there between the spine and the shoulder blade. There are all those little intricate muscles back in there, man. Sometimes just moving the head, you just feel that sharpness of wanting to stay until it releases a little bit. And then when you're ready, head comes back up to center. Again, you don't have to do this part. You can stay hugging, or you can send the backs of the hands towards each other, or the right palm, fingers onto the left palm there. And then again, sitting a little bit. It doesn't have to be a low chair to really strengthen your legs and your hips, right? You can go lower if you want. You can go back more with your hips if you want. Feel your weight. If you're going to go very low, feel your weight maybe a little more into your heels. One more breath. And we're going to rise back up. We're going to undo our arms, and we're going to stretch them all the way out beside us again here now. And then we're going to lower them slowly down so that you feel your arms just hanging. Good. And then from here, just separate your feet a little bit and start to swing your arms a little side to side. And once you start that swinging, you get it started, it doesn't want to stop, right? Because the arms will wrap around you, and then they come all the way back to wanting to go to the other side, just naturally. Once that momentum starts, it feels really good. Feel the weight of your arms. Let it feel really good to release into your shoulders, to let yourself just let go. Good. And then we'll come on back around. Good. If you're using a chair, you might want to turn it to face the back around to face you. And we definitely, if we don't have a chair, want our blocks handy here at the front of our mat. And we're going to come into Warrior One. So stepping towards the front of your mat, we're going to step our right foot back. So Warrior One is the front-facing warrior. So if you have your chair there and you keep your hands on it, then that means your shoulders are around. If you're in a short stance, your hips are pretty square to the front of your mat too. So if you need to put your foot more into your chair so that when you think of bringing your hands to your heart, you feel balanced, you can always have the chair more like this, so it's right underneath your hands, and you have it there if you need it for support. So here we are, Warrior One, front-facing warrior, very strong core pose. Your belly, your low back, and your hips. That back foot is turned out maybe 20, 30 degrees. That left knee is bent no farther forward than your ankle. And then from here, we're going to just lower our arms on down beside us. And we're going to inhale the arms all the way out and up overhead into a wide V. Turn your palms to face each other here. Spread your fingers really wide so you feel like, I'm sending sparks up through my fingertips. And then turn your pinkies in a little bit more. Maybe you even want to bring your gaze up. Just feeling really open here in the front of the body. Release down the back of your body. So inhale up the front and exhale down the back of your body. One more breath. And then we're going to bring our gaze forward. We're going to release our arms on down, and we're going to straighten the front knee out. Now both your legs are straight. Hips are really squared off to the front edge of your mat. And you're going to start to come forward. Now once you put your hands down, if you got the chair there, you can stay up higher on the back of your chair. You can go down towards the seat of your chair. Or you can go down to your blocks, any height you want to be, right? So once you get your hands down in pyramid pose, you're going to start to work the legs. Thighs are lifting up towards the hips and your spine is lengthened out, right? And almost imagine that you're trying to draw your hip pointer bones towards each other. And find a nice flat, long back here. Good. I know a lot of you love to fold over that front leg. So if that feels good, you can do that. You know, you can kind of bow over the front leg if you want to do that. Let yourself just fold forward. And some people that does not feel at all good, so don't force it. One more breath there. And now bend that front knee a little bit again. We're going to come back to Warrior One, which is actually hard. Let your core body help you rise all the way back up, hands to your heart, coming back into your Warrior One. And then we're going to let our hands come down. We're going to turn our feet more parallel towards the long edge of our mat, facing that wall. And let ourselves come into a wide-legged forward bend. So you know you may want your blocks to be under your hands. So take your time as you come forward and you start to kind of get accustomed there, having your hands down. Go ahead and adjust how far apart your feet are, right? You do want them, if possible, at least a little wider than your shoulders, but some people like them even wider, right? And you're attempting to be fairly parallel with your feet. You can bend a knee at a time if that helps you adjust better. Just be mindful, let it feel good. Feel those inner thighs. Feel your hips and the outside of your legs too. This pose is a great pose for so many things. And then when you're ready, let yourself find a nice long back. Now that might mean you want to use your blocks here in front of you on the floor and let yourself find that long back there. Or you may want to bend your knees and put your elbows above your knees and let your spine be flat that way and nice and long, right? But just enjoy finding that long back. Good. And now we're going to start to set up so we can stay in the pose comfortably. So you may want to use some blocks underneath your forearms or your head or your hands, or you may decide, I just want to fold and let my head hang, let my knees bend, right? In this pose, you can have knees bent or knees straight. And you can have your hands wherever you want, in front of you or between your feet or on your ankles. So you want to get to a place where you don't feel stressed, right? You don't want to feel any kind of discomfort or pain. You just want to be able to watch your breath. And to do that, coming in and going out without feeling distracted, that means you might need some kind of support. And then just breathe. And see if you can let your inhales and exhales even out a little bit in length, right? So if it helps you to count when you breathe in, You can count, whether you get to 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, it doesn't matter. But see if you can reach that same count when you exhale. Good. One more nice full deep breath. And before you rise up, if you need to bring your feet a different distance before you come on up, do. And then once you do get up, if you're dizzy at all, you might need to stay wide. When you're ready to bring your feet together, do. Take your time, walk around a little bit, walk around your mat. And move through your feet a little bit if you need to, your feet, your ankles. We're going to come to the other side. So we are going to come towards the front of the mat again and bring our left foot back this time for that warrior one. Remember too, if in warrior one it feels better for you to let yourself widen your feet. So that like you're on those narrow railroad tracks. And it often helps with balance to do that. Because if you line your feet up in a line like you're on a tightrope, it's a lot harder for a lot of us to feel that sense of being able to balance, right? So that's totally up to you. You just want to be really comfortable in that back foot on the floor, really comfortable opening up the front of the left hip here, letting your hands stay at your heart for a breath or two. Good, and then we'll unfold our arms on down beside us. And let your inhale be what rises your arms up into that wide V. Turn the palms towards each other. Really spread your fingers wide, nice and wide. And then turn your pinkies inward a little bit. And maybe you can look up. Don't look up if it's too much for you. That brings a little bit of a back bend. It's a lift right at the base of your shoulder blades. Think of your shoulders being softly down away from your ears and your arms growing out of your back. One more inhale up the front of the body and exhale down the back of the body. And then we'll look forward, bring our arms down. We're going to straighten the front knee out and we're going to come on forward for that pyramid. So again, you may decide, once you get your hands to a surface, you may decide to change your stance a little bit. You want to make sure when you start to come forward, you can let yourself feel the legs straight, the thighs lifting up, and feel pretty level in your hips and flat in your back. So think about really using the legs, really lifting the thighs upward. Feel that back foot fully on the floor. And then, of course, if you like to fold over the front leg, you can. It's not necessary to do that. Stay up if you need to. Just enjoy finding that pyramid pose, feeling the backs of the legs opening up. Even imagine, if you can, your arches are lifting up on both your feet. So one more breath here. Now we're going to bend the front knee and we're going to come back to warrior one. So you've got to really use that core strength to bring you right on back, hands to your heart, bringing your gaze back forward again, feeling your shoulders over your hips. And then we're going to release our arms down and we're going to turn towards the left side of our mat and let our feet come on apart for that wide-legged forward bend. So again, if you like your blocks, grab them. And this time, go ahead and kind of adjust your stance, bend a knee at a time for a time or two if that feels good. And then, get back to where you're centered, and let's walk over towards our right foot. You might just want to shift your blocks over, or you might want to walk all the way over to the outside of your foot or your ankle. Just take a breath there, let it feel good. And then walk back through center, and we're going to go over to the left. So again, how far you go is up to you. You can be on blocks, you can be hands on the floor, you can be in front of your foot or all the way over to the side of your foot. Good, and then we'll come back to center. And now let's find that long back again. So hands either on the blocks or the floor, that's up to you. Knees can be a little bent. We're going to add a little twist here. So your weight's going to be on your left hand, and you're going to bring your right hand up to your hip, and then you're just going to roll that shoulder up, letting yourself turn your palm down towards the low back, if possible, right? So you're even right there where your hand is on your low back. The twist is in the middle of your back. And then we'll bring that right hand on back down, and we're going to shift to right hand support and left hand to the hip, and then to the back. And then if you can, roll that shoulder up. Find that twist in the middle of the back. If you can, press your feet a little away from each other, like you're trying to make your mat longer with your feet. Feel your belly engaging and find full length through your spine there. Good. We're going to come on back down with a hand. And now just set yourself up to be however you want, right? So if you want support, use it. If you feel like you want to bring your hands down towards the ground or hold your own ankles, or even turn your fingertips backward and walk your hands back between your legs. But just let go. And again, be mindful. Let yourself watch your breath. And let go of your face. So see if you can let yourself feel, again, that sense of really releasing in your face, your jaw as well. Letting the breaths come nice and fully and deeply, all the way in and all the way out. Good. One more full deep breath. And before you rise up again, if you need to bring your feet closer together first, do it. Be really mindful, especially if you're dizzy. Take your time. Walk your feet on together. Move through your feet and your ankles a little bit. Really take your time there. Good. And we're going to come into Warrior 2 this time. So bringing either blocks back, or you can still keep your chair turned back towards you if you've got your chair there. Right foot's going to step back. We're going to line up our heels and bend that front knee just no farther forward than your ankle, finding your Warrior 2 here. So side-facing warrior, because when we reach the arms on up and out, we're letting that right hand reach back and the left hand forward. There you are. You're obviously not looking to the side, but your body is opening to the side. That's why this is called a side-facing warrior. Feel your feet in the floor. Just feel really good there. One more breath. And then just softly let your arms come down, right? Really let your hands just touch your thighs very easily. And straighten that front knee out. And come on into triangle, whether you put your left hand on your chair or down on your chair seat or down on your block or your leg. And you can add that right arm straight on up from your shoulder if you want to, or you can keep your hand on your hip. Thighs are lifting up towards the hips. Good. One more breath there. And then bend that front knee. We're going to come on back into Warrior 2. Press the feet away from each other as you come. Now we're going to lower our arms down again. And now all we're going to do is switch sides for this by turning our left foot to be parallel with our right one. And then our right toes are going to turn to face the back of our mats. And you're going to bend your right knee. And there you are in Warrior 2 on the other side. Floating the arms on up and out, bringing your gaze out over the top of your right hand. Feeling the feet in the floor here now. If you really want to work a little more, you can imagine you're trying to make your mat longer with your feet. Good. We're going to lower our hands down. We're going to straighten the right knee out. And then just slide your right hand down, maybe just to your thigh, right? So you let yourself come as low as you want towards your triangle. Lengthen the torso out over that front leg. You can add the left arm up if you choose or not. You can keep the hand right down on your hip. Feel those thighs lifting up towards the hips. Good. One more breath. And then we're going to bend the front knee. We're going to come on back into Warrior 2 again, pressing those feet away from each other. And then we're going to lower our arms down. We're going to turn our feet more parallel. And we're gonna bring our feet together. You can jump if you want. Jump your feet together, walk your feet together, move around a little bit. Good. So from here, we're gonna leave our mats where they are. And you just need like a fingertip to touch something. You can use your chair if you have a chair there. Or you can walk over to a bookcase or a wall somewhere, just very briefly, to come in to bring in your left hand to support. Yeah. And then from there, just let yourself come into a little tree pose. Right heel maybe into the inside of your left ankle with your toes on the ground. Or maybe you want to put the foot into your calf. Some of you may want to bring the foot all the way up into your inner thigh. But see about bringing your gaze forward. Before you even think of letting go, look forward, find a spot to look at, and then see if you maybe want to release the wall or wherever you have your hand supporting you. Hands can be at the heart. If you decide, well, I like lifting my arms up overhead because it really enforces that lift of the belly, you can do that. And if somebody's wavering in front of you, try looking maybe just over the top of their head or maybe just sort of beside them, right? You got to find that focal spot for yourself. We're going to bring that foot on down. You might want to put your left hand back to where you were and bend your right knee. Draw your right heel like it's coming in towards your buttocks. Now, you can reach back and get the foot if you have the access to it. Not all of us do, and it's fine because not everybody's knees will bend like that, right? So if you do have your foot, feel your quad. Once you're holding the ankle or the top of the foot, you feel your quad engaging. You can balance a bit there if you want to with your left arm coming up overhead. Or you can even let yourself send your knee farther behind you and let your chest come a little forward. And maybe have a little balance go on there if you want. Don't need to do that. You can stay upright. Just be really mindful. And then come on down. Let yourself release. Take your time. Turn around to the other side. And we're going to stand on that right foot and bring our left foot in for tree. So you might want to put your heel on the inside of your ankle bone with your toes on the ground. And that still makes you lift up. You can't really sit in tree pose and balance. You have to be able to lift up through the front of that right hip. You can bring the foot up higher if you choose. And then again, you can play with your arms. Once you get a spot you think you want to be able to focus on, you can bring that lift up if you want through the arms rising overhead, or you can keep your hands at your heart. Good. And as we bring ourselves on down now, from here we're going to bend that left knee. And again, it's not necessary to get your foot. You can feel the quad working if you just bend the knee and pull the heel in. You can reach back if you choose to, get your foot or your ankle. And again, you can play a little bit with just staying right there and balancing with the knee down. You can send your chest a little forward and your knee a little back if you want. Totally up to you if you balance it all here or keep your hand on the wall. Good. And then let yourself come on down. Separate your feet wider and sit back into any kind of squat you want. You may want to put your elbows above your knees, or you may want to squat all the way down. Some of you I know really like to squat way down, maybe even turning your heels in. And not everybody's knees or hips will do a squat. Yeah, and if you have a wall back behind you, more to the better. That's a great way to squat. Good. So from here, we are going to make our way back onto our mats. So you're going to have to come up, most of you, because you're not on your mat. But if you are, you can turn around and go down onto your belly on your mat. If not, go back to your mat and then let yourself come on down. And if you can just let yourself release, make a little pillow with your hands for a second. Rest your forehead on your hands. And see if from there you can just put the tips of your toes on the floor. And then maybe even curl the toes under a little bit And then lift your knees up, which will lift your thighs as well. Engage your belly. Feel the backs of the legs really stretching out there. Good. And then let your thighs come on back down and let your feet come back to being pointed so you're on the tops of your toes. And we're going to slide our forearms onto the mat so that we come into Sphinx here with our elbows pretty close to under our shoulders. If this is too much for your back, come down and slide your elbows more towards your waist. And you can still support yourself, but you're not up as high. So it really depends on how it feels on your low back. And just enjoy. Spread your fingers nice and wide. Really feel that openness in the front of the body here. Good. And now bring your hands together and clasp them and send your pinky fingers out so you're kind of right there on the outside edge of your hands. Bend your knees, lift your hips up, and there you are in a half forearm plank. And now pull yourself towards the front of your mat. I mean, literally, you are pulling so that you get higher above the knees, the flesh above the knees. And then feel how your belly's going really nuts. So working strong belly, strong low back here. Just enjoy finding that engagement. And if you want, you can put your feet down and lift up into a full forearm plank. If that feels good to you, you can let yourself do a full one. Totally optional, you know that. Keep the knees down, rest if you need to. Do a full, do a half one. Stay as long as you can, feeling that core. And then we're going to release down and we're going to bring our arms down alongside us. And we're going to float up into a little locust pose. So it does not have to be high. You're thinking of reaching your fingertips and your toes back towards the wall behind you. One more breath. And then let yourself release. We're going to roll to one side. It doesn't matter which side. And draw your knees up to let your back release right there. So just release here. Bring the knees in. You're just laying like if you were on your side sleeping with your knees there, releasing, letting the low back release. Good. And now, all we're going to do is press our way up, and you all are going to want to turn for your feet to face towards me again. And then you're going to get your strap in your hand, okay? So you're repositioning yourself around the way you always would be. And then you're going to go down onto your backs on the floor, but have your strap right there, right? So come on down, bring your knees into your chest, and send your feet up in the air into a little happy baby. Let the feet come apart. Let the knees imagine they're drifting down towards the ground. You can get your feet if you want. You can hold on behind your legs here if you want. Come around the outside of your thighs. And then if it feels good to roll side to side, by all means do. Let it feel really easy. Good. And now from here, let your feet come on back down to the floor. Get your strap. And we're going to bring the strap across the ball of our right foot here up in the air. So take your time. Let yourself try to get the strap across the base of your big toe mound, your little toe mound. Let the knees soften, right? And then totally up to you if lengthening your left leg down long on the floor feels good or not, right? If it does, do it. If not, bring it back and put it on the floor, the left foot on the floor, right? Because you can still do all this, even whether the leg's long or not. So don't pull on your leg, right? You want to let your leg feel like you're just really feeling a little bit of the weight of your arms to open the back of your leg. You don't want to pull it in towards you and stress out the back of your leg, your hamstring. So just be there with your breath. Let your head roll a little bit from side to side, almost like you're massaging the back of your head. And then come on back to the head at center. We're going to bring both ends of the strap into our right hand put your left hand on your left hip there, and then open the leg to the right. Try to keep grounded in that left side. Press gently into the strap with the ball of your foot. You don't have to go very far. This depends on you, how it feels. Just find that inner thigh. One more breath. And then bring the leg on back up. Bring your left hand over to get both ends of the strap. Stretch your right arm out onto the floor beside you. And bring the leg to the left. Maybe just a couple of inches where your right hip is still down on the floor. That really gets into the outside of the leg. If you want to go deeper into a twist, you can let the leg descend down more and more towards the ground. That is totally up to you, and it feels different too depending on how far the leg is away from your body. I mean, so you can like give yourself some play and go lower with the leg and feel a different feel in the twist than if you have the leg up higher towards your torso. Changes where you feel it the most. We're going to come on back up to the top with the foot, and then we're just going to put our left foot up there in the strap and put our right foot down on the floor. And again, just make sure you've got the strap across the base of the big toe mound and the little toe mound evenly. You can extend your right leg long if it feels okay to do that. And then, again, it's fine to have your knee bent, this left knee bent. And you can still feel the weight of your arms, and you're still going to find openness in the back of your leg. Again, you do not want to pull on your leg. You want to let yourself just gradually feel the weight of the arms, just helping the back of the leg to release. And then if you can roll your head a little bit again, side to side, do. Come on back into center with your head. Left hand is going to take both ends of the strap. Right hand on the right hip. We're going to open to the left. So you're trying to stay grounded in that right side. And press gently into the strap if you can with the ball of your foot. And then we'll come on back up to the top. And switch hands. Right hand's going to come over and get the strap. Left arm comes out beside you on the floor. And again, you might want to go 2 inches to the right. You might want to feel it more in the outside of your leg. You may decide you want to go over farther. Totally up to you. As we come on back up to the top, now just take the strap off. Just make sure when you bring it down, be easy. Put the strap on off. We're done. Bring your feet to the floor. Separate your feet a little wider on your mat. And let your knees just easily come from one side to the other. And just be mindful. See how that feels for you? You can stay on one side and kind of hang out if you want. You may decide you like to move back and forth. That feels better to you. So really just let yourself connect with what's the best feeling for you to do these. Or maybe your body is suggesting that you do something else. So if it is, listen to it. You know, if there's another movement you need to do, if you'd rather do some little pelvic tilts, if you'd rather come into a little bit of a bridge pose, or maybe there's another kind of twist that sounds better to you, or a hip opener. You might want to do a figure 4. You might want to come into a little Badakanasana, soles of the feet together there. So really take your time. Let your body adjust in whatever way it needs. Because for Shavasana, you want to kind of get your wiggles out, and you know, if you need to do some, even just a little bit of something different that your body is asking you to do. Take your time. I'm starting to get lights, but then you all know that I'll be heading around, and I would love to bring support if you need some support. would love to bring bolsters, if that sounds good, for underneath the knees, or a blanket, or underneath your head, if you'd like some support.
Sometimes they don't remember.
Yeah, not very long. So I'm moving around. Please let me know. Wave at me if the idea of something sounds good. There's no coffee, no wine. So let me know if I can bring you anything at all. 'Cause sometimes once you settle in, you think you're fine, but then you're maybe not so comfortable. So let me know. Let yourself just enjoy feeling the ground. If you don't spend much time lying on the floor, I highly recommend it. You know, just lying on the floor, your body naturally aligns. So just appreciate that firmness of the ground so that you can feel yourself relaxing into the firmness of the floor. You feel how your muscles soften. And your breath is going to adjust too as you start to watch your breath coming in and going out. Your breath and your brain both want to quiet down. So just let yourself. All you need to do is whenever you go off and are thinking, just softly refocus back to your breath, that wave in and out of your breath. And give yourself these few minutes. And allow yourself to completely and fully relax.